You had one job. Make a good sequel to a good movie. And for some reason, you couldn't even do that right. Because, I'm just going to give you guys a little spoiler warning right now. This is where we start getting negative. Because I know I kind of already said it at the end of the last review, but oh lord, are these two other Fantastic Four movies bad? Not only because this is a bad sequel to a good movie, but also because the movie that came after this is somehow even worse. I don't know how that works, but here we are, talking about it. Let's just get this over with so we can go back to pretending that this doesn't exist and throw it back into the crap cloud of teeth of death that is hanging in the atmosphere. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, your resource for anything and everything animation, including TV and movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome back to First Family. Welcome to the piece of absolute undefendable crap that is Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. The only Fantastic Four movie out of all of these that is actually a sequel to a pre-existing film. Now, if you do not remember my review from yesterday, I told you about how much I really enjoy the original Fantastic Four 2005 movie. Because, yes, it has its problems. Yes, it's corny. Yes, it's goofy. But it was charming, it was funny, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. And every time I pop that movie in, I just have a better time every time. However, I watched this movie the exact same day that I watched the first Fantastic Four for the first time because they were both in that same box. And, even as a kid, I freaking hated this one. Yeah, even as a kid, I despised this movie. And I haven't watched it since until literally just a few hours ago when I just rewatched it again. Now, there are some people who defend and enjoy this movie. And if you are one of those people, I respect your opinion and I can understand if it's partly nostalgia, just like the original one is for me. That's nostalgia. I know it's not a great movie, but I still enjoy it. This one, however, I hated it as a kid, and I somehow hate it even more as an adult. Not only is this a terrible sequel, but it's just a terrible comic book movie in general that takes everything that sounded really good on paper for a sequel to Fantastic Four and threw it all right down the toilet. All of it. I mean, you'd think having like the Silver Surfer and having Galactus and this overwhelming threat and the Fantasticar and Johnny having all the other powers of these other Fantastic Four members and one of the members dying, you'd think that sounded really tense and interesting on paper. Problem is, the writers didn't get that memo and just lazily half-efforted every single thing they could have possibly half-efforted. So, here's my written review. It spells out everything that I really hate about this movie. As cars outside will not shut the hell up. Here's my review of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and why it is such a piece of crap. Enjoy. While I'll defend the original 05 movie as a fun, entertaining superhero flick, I absolutely will not defend its atrocious sequel that completely and utterly bastardized pretty much everything that it did right the first time and made all its shortcomings even worse to the point of practically creating a crater. Yes, this movie has that many problems it practically created a crater. I say that 5 times fast. That being said, though, there are some things I like in it. Like, this isn't like one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen or anything. There are still things in it that I like. It's just few and far between all the numerous critical issues. Here are the things that I liked. All the returning actors are still decent, including, rest in peace, Julian McMahon as Dr. Doom. Lawrence Fishburne was a great choice to voice Silver Surfer, despite being wasted story-wise. Like, I love Lawrence Fishburne. I've loved the dude since The Matrix, and in almost every movie, no matter the quality, he's always the best part of it. I mean, you guys remember Predators 2010? Probably only because it had Lawrence Fishburne in it. Just saying. So, he was a great choice to voice Silver Surfer. He has that deep, like deep, dooming voice that really works for this kind of character that's both mysterious but also threatening in a weird way. So, yeah, good job to the casting department. I do think Lawrence Fishburne was a great choice to voice Silver Surfer. It just pisses me off that they barely did anything with Silver Surfer, making him a side villain in his own movie when his name is literally on the damn title. Whatever. We'll get there when we get there. Ugh, this movie pisses me off. Johnny and Thing's dynamic is still on point and pretty funny. Those two, that dynamic, still the best part of the movie. Especially that scene when Johnny first starts inhibiting and swapping powers with all the other members. And he quickly, for a brief moment, turns into a Chris Evans version of the Thing. The one genuine laugh that movie got out of me. And of course, the whole rock slide joke right before the wedding. I'm still surprised they even got away with that in a movie that was very clearly aimed at kids. Kind of. But yeah, best part of the movie, still Johnny and Thing's dynamic. It's as good as it's always been. The whole wedding scene was an okay opening sequence. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't amazing, but it was okay. I didn't hate it, and I was invested enough in it up to that point. But then when it started doing all this other crap, then I just jumped ship and wanted it to end. But the wedding scene, it's fine. It's a decent opening sequence. Johnny getting everyone's powers is a cool idea. I wish they did more with it. I really think it was an interesting idea having Johnny having the ability to swap powers with all the other Fantastic Four members just by touching them, just because he touched Silver Surfer. That's a cool concept. Problem is, just like the Silver Surfer himself, they don't do jack it with it. Stan gets another funny cameo, this time as a wedding guest that was supposed to be invited, and he literally is himself this time instead of being Willie the Postman, and it's a funny little cameo. Doesn't last very long, but it's funny, and people do remember it. And the humor is still mostly pretty good. This movie, at times, is still pretty funny. Not just because of Johnny and Things back and forth, which is just as great as it was in the first, but also, every now and then, just some of the other lines and quips from these other characters, or the way that they act throughout the movie. Intentional or not, that also got a few laughs out of me. So, yeah, the movie's still funny. I just feel like most of it was unintentional this time in comparison to the original. But then there's its everything else. The effects are worse. Aside from the practical suits for Thing and Chris Evans' Thing, every other effect in this movie looks terrible, even by 2007 standards. The story is a mess. It's a mess. Like, they had some decent ideas, but they couldn't decide which one was which, so they just threw it all together into one movie and it doesn't work. It is a freaking mess. Silver Surfer is completely wasted. By far, the most disappointing and aggravating thing about this movie is that it wasted this damn cool, criminally underrated character. Seriously. And also, wasting Lawrence Fishburne, that is a cardinal sin in and of itself. Killing off Sue for less than 10 minutes was incredibly stupid. I'm just going to go ahead and spoil that because I don't care. I don't want any of you to watch this crap. Yeah, they kill off Sue Storm and it doesn't last any longer than like 5-10 minutes. Yay. I was so invested. The writing is horrendous. It's just so bad. Like, whether it's the character dialogue or the character decisions or that really, really freaking stupid ass ending. The writing is terrible all throughout this movie. The pacing is even worse. Like, I said in the original that the pacing was erratic, but it is Mozart compared to this. This is some of the worst pacing I've seen in a comic book movie, because it's like, we're here, then 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 we're here. No time to let scenes sink in. Like, even the one scene where they have Silver Surfer strapped to a chair in a military base, and he's talking alone with Sue, and he's telling her about Galactus, it still feels like they are rushing to get the scene done so they can move on to the next action scene. It is dumb as hell. Galactus is an unforgivable trash fire that is outright insulting to the source material. Why did we make him into a space cloud with teeth? Why did we make him look like, apologies for my vulgar language here, but why did we make him look like a vagina? Seriously, what was the thought process in that? Was it a budget cut because you were putting too much money into Silver Surfer? Like, what's the... Why? Why? Just why? Why is he a vagina cloud with teeth? Why? What is the literal freaking point? And thankfully this is the one thing that the new one's going to rectify, because we are going to get a Galactus, a full comic accurate Galactus, and from what I've heard from early reactions, he is one of the best parts of that movie, so hopefully that will be able to wash the bad taste of this out of my mouth. Like, I thought the killer ski balls thing in freaking Langoliers was insulting. This is somehow even worse. Yes, worse than killer ski balls. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Freaking stupid. The final battle is even worse than last time. It's barely even a battle. It barely counts. It's stupid. Doom's new arc is beyond pointless. It is a subplot that does nothing but waste time until the ending when it actually does something. And even when it does something, it lasts no longer than 10 minutes. Insulting to the actor and insulting to the character. The runtime is a pain. This movie is just, it's so long. It is too long and too slow, and it is a pain to get through. Rewatchability is 0. I literally only rewatched it this second time just so I can tear it apart in this review. You know, my own personal version of therapy. And every single idea they came up with crashes headfirst off of a cliff in execution. Like, you have the Fantastic Car. It's only in the final 2 minutes of the movie. You have Dr. Doom coming back. It results in almost nothing until the end when he kills Sue Storm for no other reason than the plot demands it. You have Silver Surfer, who is a completely wasted exposition-dumping plot device. You have the marriage between Reed Richards and Sue Storm. That is meaningful in the first part of the movie, and then it's thrown away like it never even happened. And of course, you have Johnny getting all these other powers from all the other members of the Fantastic Four, only for it to lead up to one of the worst and dumbest fights I have ever seen in a comic book movie. Seriously, that final fight, I freaking hate it so much. This is overall unequivocal garbage that took everything that made the first film fun, crapped on it 1,000 times over, stripped it of all its life and character from the original, and turned it into nothing more than a generic, hollow, soulless, half-efforted cash grab that dragged the name through the mud. Even now, almost 20 years later, it absolutely sucks massive balls and killed the franchise for almost 10 whole years. Because this movie's from, 2007? And it didn't take until 2015 for someone to try again. Do you know how bad your movie has to be in order to have a hiatus that's that long? And how it led to an even longer hiatus because somehow what came out after this was somehow even worse? Yeah, that is a special kind of insulting. It's better left in orbit to float through space to be forgotten. Throw it in the teeth of the vagina cloud that it dare called Galactus and just pretend it doesn't exist. Oh, and the same with the video games too. The tie-in video game for this sucks massive balls too. That's all I got. Final verdict for this movie is a 2 out of 10. It's a terrible sequel. It's a terrible movie. It is a terrible comic book movie. And it is one of the examples that many people use for why 2000s comic book movies suck, even though they are mostly a lot better than most people remember them to be. This is garbage. And even as a 2000s kid, I will not ever, ever defend this piece of crap. Ever. It has some things that I like, but there's scars and barely worth mentioning on top of the mountain of issues that plague it from start to finish. It is simply crap. And somehow it gets even worse, because next we gotta talk about Fant 4-Stick. No, I'm not calling it by its actual name because it doesn't deserve it. And yeah, that one will probably be an 18+ review, so buckle up for a very angry one. So, that's all I got. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna go calm down now. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more happy videos like this almost every single day. And I'll see you guys next time when we dive into the absolute unmitigated disaster that is Fant 4-Stick 2015. Pray for my sanity. Bye.
Deciding for what comes up ahead. Patience.